And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley. What is up, everyone? Thanks for joining us here for Morning Coffee. This is myself and Robert Watson. Today is Wednesday. If you caught Monday's show, we talked a little bit about a different topic, but today we're talking about his book, Ars Victorious. It's out. The chapter that we're going through is New Doors, chapter 29. We're getting through the book, getting close to there. Welcome if you're joining us on TikTok. We do this 2 days a week, Monday and Wednesday at this time, which, you know, where you're watching it's 5 o'clock my time, 6 Central, 7 Eastern. And then, you know, you got those Pacific people who probably are not up yet at 4 o'clock this morning. So thanks for hanging out with us. Please make sure that you like us, share us, subscribe us, follow us, all those things. You can check out the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts and listen to it if that's what you prefer to do. It also is here on TikTok and other platforms. Robert, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Yeah, I'm told my son says that he listens to us in the background. So he turns it on and just listens.
Oh,
Like,
very
okay,
nice.
cool.
Yeah. What is his perspective on this situation? Because he's in between us, right? So he's younger than me, or is he?
He is 27 years old.
Yep. So he's a baby.
Yep.
Yeah, it's I think it's great to, you know, kind of a little background on Robert and I. Robert's got multiple degrees. He's had multiple different lifetime things he's done, been in the military and wrote a book. And we come both from an athletic background. So it's really fun to talk about sports and how they help us to push forward, move forward, and just be better every single day.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny because life is a team sport. And so I think sports, whether you're working with your wife, whether you're working with your family, whether you're working with the team at work, doesn't matter. Life is a team sport. There is
Yeah.
very little that we do solo. I mean, we may feel like we're doing it, but there's very little we're doing solo. So it makes it very, very easy when you begin to start making those kind of analogies. And I think it's, you remember playing with guys that you just didn't like,
Mm-hmm.
right? Truth. And
Ugh.
you played with guys you didn't like, and it didn't matter because the game and success and the mission or whatever superseded your personal likes and dislikes. That was one of those things that taught cooperation at a very young age. Because if we just stayed in our little silos with people we like, we would have never been able to execute anything on a playing field.
Well, it's tough too because you think about that, like everything that relates into that anyway. Unless you're like a solo person who does in general life, like work and all those things that you do, you run into it. And I am struggling currently with my situation where that's the same kind of thing for me. It's like I have a tough time working with people who don't have the same values that I do. And I'm realizing that that is something that is tough to deal with as an adult, because integrity is something that I really hold at a high esteem, right? And then you find a lot of people who don't have the same integrity that you do, and it becomes very difficult to kind of bypass those feelings sometimes because you have to get past it, because if you don't, you're just going to be pissed off all the time. And I think that that's really my struggle currently, is being mad that other people don't share the same values that I do. And it becomes difficult. It could be pretty daunting if you let it be that way.
Yeah, and we faced it on the playing field with people with different work ethics than us, right?
Yep.
Some people would show up to practice and they walk through it, sleepwalk through, and expect to play well. And of course, that never really worked. There was very few people that could not practice and play well. There
Right.
was something about repetition is the mother of skill that has always stuck out. And it's real important because this whole chapter, New Doors, is about the idea of you can't open new doors with old keys.
Right.
So the reality is that we all need to be changing. We all need to be, you know, mutating, so to speak, transforming. And one of the challenges we have, of course, is that we like to stay in our little silos with the people we like. We like to stay in situations we're comfortable. We like to stay in situations we know. And the reality is that's not growth.
Right.
And that's very, very difficult it's hard for me. I'm starting a graduate degree. on Monday at a place I've been before, but in a new situation, and it's very different. And the my inclination is to say I don't like it.
Hmm.
That's the inclination, because here's the thing: as much as I am a change monster, I don't like change.
Right.
Right? I want to go into the autumn, what they call the automacy of being, right? Which is
Hmm.
just where you don't have to think and you just are. And we like to stay there because it's a light cognitive load, meaning we don't have to think.
Right.
But beyond that light cognitive load, it's exactly how we're designed as human beings to do what? To not do a lot of the cognitive load because our brain sops up a bunch of energy.
Hmm.
So it's an energy saving device. And so it kind of works against us because we just want things to be the same. And the reality is the growth comes from things not being the same.
Right.
So it's very, very challenging. But um, I always made this point to people. I said, the reality of where you need to be and where you got to go, the things you have to do are very different. You
Right.
can't just do a little more, you have to do things. And so for me to get on to where I need to be next, which is a PhD after this, I got to change the way I looked at things. I have to use a new key to get a new door.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's difficult too because I go back and forth with that as well because my whole thing is about growth. My whole thing is about being better. My challenge, like you think about sales in general, right? Like as a salesperson, my goal is to do more this year than I did last year, every single year,
Mhm.
which turns into do more today than I did yesterday and do more the next day. And so like the idea of that it is not the challenge is the tough part is like you do want the like I'm good at what I do and I've mastered this, but what can I do to get more touches, right? Like just like in basketball, how many times can I
Mhm.
get my hand on the ball more to be able to take that shot, to be able to be consistent and keep going? And you get lost because sometimes you're like, I'm so good at this, I don't think that there's any more I can do. But then that's when you get complacent and you have to realize, well, there's more I can do. I just have to get uncomfortable in what I'm doing to continue to keep going.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because my son and I were talking. My son was a quarterback in high school, and we were talking. The way quarterbacks look at things. We were talking about the new crop that are coming into the NFL, and we said, there's one kid that stuck out. I won't say who he is at this point, but it stuck out because he's learned the rule of being a quarterback: get the ball out of your hands.
Right.
Okay, you are like the point guard in a basketball game. Get the ball out of your hands.
Yep.
And a lot of times it's like, well, let's make this great throw. You need to be like the savior of the game and all that. No, you need to get the ball out of your hands. Here's the thing: the guy you're getting it to is usually faster, more elusive than you are, right? And as long as you're basically throwing the ball at a minimum sideways, if not forward, progress is being made. And the idea is to basically drop back and get the ball out of your hands.
Yeah.
And it really is not to sit there and run around back there until you find an open guy. No, no, it's get the ball out of your hands. And especially as a rookie, it's really, really hard because in college, they could get away with running around back there. Well, in the NFL, you can't.
Right.
Those guys are too fast.
Yeah. I
And
mean, you,
so you have to change your game.
yeah, you think about it. I mean, it's funny. I was watching. There's this meme going around with Aroldis Chapman pitching to. I think it's Manny. It's not. Is it? Yeah, I think it's Manny Machado of the Pirates. And you watch him, and he's in there, and he's a reliever. And if you don't know who Aroldis Chapman is, the guy throws heat. Like he is one of the. He throws like 105 miles an hour. Like he's got one of the fastest pitches compared to, like I think the closest person Nolan Ryan would be to him of the past. And so he's in there pitching to Manny Machado, and he pitches him like 5 pitches. The first one was 101. Second one was 102. Second one was 103. Then he threw two 105 at him, and then he strikes the guy out, and he just sits there and he just smiles at him. And it's the funniest thing ever. But he's continuing to build on what he had, and he keeps going up and up and up, and which is amazing because typically people, as you throw, you get slower because you get tired.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and it's funny, I guess, in the chapter, which is very, very interesting, is as I talk about being, I'm flight certified, jump certified, dive certified. In other words, I can do all these individual things, right?
Yep.
And everybody goes, well, these are really, really cool things. I've multiple black belts in karate. The point is, yes, I've got all this capability, but people think that it was all driven out of some internal need. No, it was driven out of fear.
Hmm.
Okay. Here's the thing. When I was a kid, I liked standing up for people. Unfortunately, I stood up to people that were 3 and 4 years older than me. So guess what? I got the crap beat out of me.
Yep.
Well, I got tired of that. I went into martial arts. I don't get the crap beat out of me anymore, right? I was afraid of heights. So what did I do? I jumped out of airplanes. I learned how to fly, right? I learned how to dive because I was trying to impress my wife at the time, right? That I wasn't afraid. You know how unnatural it is to breathe underwater? Try it.
Yeah.
It's really unnatural. So I was afraid. But the point is that a lot of the things that drive us, there's a pattern in the driving pattern is look at what you fear, right? Those
Right.
new doors, right? And you're trying to get over those fears with old ways. Well, you can't. You literally have to jump literally out and try something completely new, something that's way outside of your comfort zone to basically create new habits.
Yep.
And then you got to do it over and over again. And that really spooks people, but that's a reality of how we grow as human beings. And it's very hard because here's the thing. You see that picture you're talking about, and people don't realize what it took for him to get there.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
like people make this comment about an actor, right, who's like 40 and who's got the role and wins the Academy Award. And they're like, oh my God, you're such a success. And they're laughing at him because they started acting at 21.
Hmm.
They've had 19 years of reasonable success or a lot of failure, lots and lots of failure. And all of a sudden they're an overnight success and they're laughing. I'm not an overnight success. I spent 19 years getting here,
Yeah, because you see that
right?
the perception versus reality. You see that happening. You see the end result, but you don't see what it took to get there. And you were talking
No.
about the NFL thing, and it's kind of funny because I don't think people really understand to get like out of high school to get a scholarship to play in college, to play sports in college, whatever it is. It's like a 0.0002% chance that that's going to be happening. And so, like, I think I've talked about this before. I was one person out of a class of 200, and then you narrow it down to like 60 people on my football team that got a scholarship to go play football. So there was two people out of 200 people in my school that got
Mhm.
scholarships. Okay. And I didn't go play because I didn't like where it was at. But then now that becomes one person. So there was one person who actually went and played sports in college. Okay. Their chance of getting into the NFL becomes even narrower to that 0.002%. So when you
Mhm.
get to the NFL, you're like narrowed down all these people into this very elite group. So even the worst player on that team is way better than, all those other people that they beat out in college to go to the NFL. I mean, it's a
Oh yeah.
and they have to do that work. They have to be willing to work harder than the next guy to get there.
Yeah, and it's funny. Again, another interesting story. So I moved locations. Well, I had to start changing things like my driver's license, my pilot certificate, because you're not literally supposed to be running around with the wrong address on some of the stuff. So I called or got online to the driver's license bureau the same day I got along to the FAA. Right.
Hmm.
Well, let's just say I got my pilot certificate a week and a half ago. Right after about 7 days. I paid, ready, $2 to get my new pilot certificate. I
Jeez.
paid $11 to get my new driver's license and still don't have it.
Hmm.
Okay. When I called the FAA, that division uh, uh, of airmen, right, they always address me by name, right? So because why? There's only 160,000 of us.
Yeah.
And it's real easy to figure out who we are, right? Because the fact is very few people make it to that place where they can fly.
Hmm.
But how many people have flown on an airplane, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I was taking my annual physical, and my flight surgeon made the comment. He goes, "Man, I don't." He said, "I just detest flying," and I said, "You actually don't detest flying. I said, that's not what you're afraid of. And he goes, well, what am I afraid of? I said, you're afraid of not flying. He says, huh? I said, in the air, and all of a sudden you're not flying. What does that mean? He said, I'm falling. I said, exactly. That's what you're afraid of. You're not afraid of flying.
Yeah.
You're afraid of not flying. He goes, yeah, that's true. I said, there you go.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's. I think Nikki said she was afraid of heights, and now you think about it, it's like you're just afraid of you're afraid of hitting the ground.
Mhm.
It's crazy to think about that, but that is so. We were talking about perspective on Monday, and Nikki says interesting perspective. But that's what it is. It's like your perspective can be flopped on it. Like you can look at it as like we talked about bills before. It's a real simple way to think about it. A bill is something that you have to pay. You can look at it as a negative thing, or you can look at the positive things that it brings to you. So if you pay your heating bill, you get heat, you get cool, you get whatever. If you don't pay it, then you don't get that, right? So it's all about that perspective. And the old adage, the glass is half empty or glass is half full, there's actually the same amount of water in there. So you have some or you have less, I mean, that's the reality of it. You have to look at it that way.
And we also twist ourselves around over the concept of time. And I put it this way. If I told you, and I'm not wishing this on anybody, but if I told you, Wes, you have 9 days to live.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell me how you're going to spend your 9 days.
That's a tough one. I mean, I would button up a lot of things, I'll tell you that. And then
Right.
I wouldn't be working. I mean, I might be just so that I can get, get people prepared for what's going to happen for a couple days, but I'm like, I'm out of here. I got stuff I got to do.
And one of the exercises you always do in, believe it or not, in psychotherapy, one of the exercises is called the magic question. It simply says this: what if you went to sleep with a problem and you woke up with a solution? Mm-hmm. So for example, I went to sleep with a lottery ticket and I had bills, and I woke up winning a $10 million. Tell me what you would change in your life. And somebody says everything. And my response is, okay, why don't you? Are you trying to tell me that the only thing holding you back is the $10 million? Really? So money is the only thing that's holding you back. And once they realize it's really not money that's holding them back, it's them holding themselves back.
Yeah.
That money is just part of the equation. Just like when I said to you, you have 9 days left, all of a sudden money doesn't matter to you anymore.
Nope.
You're just like, screw that. What are you doing? Well, what do I want to do? Can you imagine waking up in the morning thinking that for just a little bit? Hey, what do I really want to do today? What would make me happy? And it's a concept called hot positive and hot negative. Okay. Mm-hmm. A hot positive is something you really, really enjoy that kind of stretches you. Hot negative is something you absolutely do not want to do. And you need to balance those two things, right? For example, my friend really hates administration, but she really loves interacting with people. And so I said, okay, your hot negative is administration when you're doing the stuff that that's not in your wheelhouse.
Right.
I said, so balance them every day. Look at your thing and say, oh, I've got 5 hours of administration to do, right? Like you in your job. Okay. Selling makes you money. Administration doesn't make you crap, right, but you have to do it, right?
Yep.
So it's hot positive, hot negative. And so you're trying to balance those all day long. If you have a day full of administration, that is a day you do not make money.
Right.
But if you have a day full of selling and no administration, you're really not finishing the order. So you're really not making money either. There's always a balance.
Yeah, right? And it's funny because as you're talking about that, I'm thinking about it in general, like the actual in the house, making the quote, getting the money is the part that makes you money. The other part, like having to put the order in and having to do all that background stuff, is what is, like you said, the administration portion of it. And so for me, I do, like, it's like you talk about when you wake up in the morning, you go running because it sucks and you don't like doing it.
Right.
But you think if you can do that, then you can get to the next one, or you can get to the next thing and get through your day. I do the same thing. It's like I sell it, I get it done because I'm tired of freaking messing with it. I'm like, I don't want it in the back of my head because this morning I have all this stuff that came in last night because if people didn't purchase right then and there, then now I have to do the administration portion of it and follow up and collect the money and do all that stuff. I'd rather get it done right then and there and have it out of the way. Sarah, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being here.
Yeah. Hi, Sarah. Good to see you too. Yeah, these are balances in your life, but I always say balance yourself with the question: if I had $1 million today, how would I handle my day? And see, people, why do you think people that win the lottery go broke? Because they don't plan.
Yeah, they're
It's
poor
like
planners. Yep.
found money, right? Instead of looking at it and saying, okay, how can I improve my life? How would $100 million improve my life on the things I'm doing now? How could I do the things better that I'm doing now? And when I say I wouldn't do any of the things I'm doing now, what that automatically tells you is you're not living your life the way you're supposed to. If money is the only thing changing everything you do in your life, you're in big trouble. Study, I think it was Sweden, said if you win $1 million overnight, men are 70% more likely to stay in their marriage. Women are twice as likely to leave their marriage. Try that one on for size.
Yeah.
So you're literally in a relationship. If you're a woman, in this case, in this study, you're literally in the relationship for what he provides. And the man, not at all. So look at the balance here of why you do things. The why we do things is really, really important, because if we're going to open new doors, right, we need new keys. We need new whys.
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to. If you say, listen, you need to start a running streak, Wes, tomorrow. We're going to go through the why, because you're going to go, no, I don't. no, I don't. But you understand, if you have a why, if you have a compelling why, you'll do it.
Yeah.
Every morning when I wake up to run, my compelling why is to keep the streak going.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what happens, rain, sleet, snow, doesn't matter.
Yeah. And it's funny because the more you do it, like I can sit here and I can think about it. Like I'm thinking if I had that many days, like the next day you're sitting there going, oh no, this is not going anywhere, because this is, 2,000 days. This is 3,000 days. It's like, man,
Yep.
I've been doing this long enough that there's no way I'm not going to stop
Yep.
this.
Yeah, it becomes very much a self-fulfilling prophecy once you get really cranking,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm watching people behind me at 2,500 days, at 1,800 days, and they're celebrating 4 years and 5 years, and I'm at almost 10 years, and I'm like, oh hell no. Plus, I look at my age and go, I've got 10 years in. Could I actually start a new streak at my age? I'm like, yeah, I guess I could, but ooh, that seems kind of tricky. And then when you start saying, listen, I think I can run for 20 years, now it really gets tricky, right?
Yeah.
Because time starts running out on you.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy to see that too, because you just think about it. Like I just picture you like running past some 20-year-old or some 33-year-old, and they're looking at you going this, and he's like, hey buddy, I've been running longer than you've been alive, or
Oh yeah. There's going to be a point where I guess it gets really serious. When I get up around 20 years, it'll be, really serious. Yeah. Right now it's just a play streak. It's just close to 10. It's just
Still, it's huge. It's huge. So, well, with that, I wanted to say thank you to everyone who is here this morning listening to this conversation. Make sure you pick up the book Ars Victorious. You can get it on Amazon. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you can. We do it here on TikTok. There's all kinds of places that you can do it. You can subscribe. You can write a review. It's something that I've been doing for a while now. I looked at it. It's like, I think 369 is the episodes that I've been doing, but Robert and I have recently been doing this. It's been almost a year now, together going through the book and just talking and conversing. And it's a really great combination, I feel like, where, you know, I'm from Gen X and Robert's a baby boomer, but we have these different perspectives from different groups, and just come together and converse about it and talk about those types of things. So thank you everyone for being here again. And we will see you Monday.
Appreciate you.
All right.